Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope all my students are absolutely fine. That's great. My dear ones, remember today is our sixth session. So that means this is the second session of week 3. Before we start about today's session and what we are going to do in this session, I think it's appropriate to talk about what we have done already in session number 5. Yes, I hope you're also recalling. That's great. I remember that we talked about voicing and we tried to elaborate what is voicing. And of course, our dimension was a little bit different. At the same time, I would like to remind one thing that do you remember when I said that, okay, we can classify the consonants on the basis of 3 aspects? Yes. The first aspect is voicing, the second is the place of articulation, and the third is manner of articulation. We try to understand what is voicing in English, of course. May I say that, if you allow me to speak about English language? Yes, and the second, place of articulation. Now, we did not try to understand places of articulation in detail. Yes, I talked about some of the sounds, such as bilabial sounds, labiodental sounds, and dental sounds. But today we have to understand the places of articulation or place of articulation in detail. And I hope I'll enjoy your cooperation. So are you with me? That's fine. Well, as I told you that we are now in the session number 6. And we are in the 3rd week of our semester. As I also told you during the last session that as we proceed further, always remember that we are going to talk about more technical things. And today again that it's very important that you must concentrate the way you are supposed to be concentrating what I say. And I hope that you shall try to get yourself engaged in some sort of activity which I request you to do. Okay? Today's area primarily is to understand the sounds, but we shall be engaged in elaborating sounds with reference to places of articulation. That means today our focus will be on the places of articulation so far as the consonants are concerned. Remember, it is possible that I make a passing reference to the vowel sound or the vowel of English, but remember the focus shall remain on the consonant sound. So get ready, we are going to talk about the places of articulation, all the consonants we shall be discussing today. Well, before we talk about our today's session and what we are going to talk or what we are going to understand in today's session, I think it's very important to understand, and I want you to recall, or you can refer to the slide in which you saw the voiced and the voiceless consonants. Yes, exactly. We must not forget at any time that so far as consonants are concerned, there are voiced consonants and there are voiceless consonants. That's very important to understand. At the same time, my dear students, it is again significant to understand that when we talk about English, all vowel sounds of English are voiced sounds. And whenever we talk or whenever we refer to the term voicing, always remember that it is the vibration primarily. I hope that when I talk about vibration, everything comes to your mind, and yes, you are capable of recalling what we did during the last session or maybe other sessions. So it's very important that you must remember there are 15 voiced consonants, but we have 9 voiceless consonants. Now let's talk about what's the origin of this term. In fact, I would like to read the things for you, and then we shall try to understand where analysis is required, that what in fact is point of articulation or the place of articulation. The technical term point of articulation or place of articulation comes from the field of articulatory phonetics. I hope you remember I had a talk with you when I was talking about the importance of articulatory phonetics. Time and again, everything is very much dependent on the way we produce the sounds. Most of the people are not concerned, or may I say our audience, or maybe our listeners are not concerned with the idea that what is in fact behind the production of this speech sound. People are concerned with the sounds we are producing. But remember, as a student of phonetics and phonology, the most important part is that we have to understand the articulatory areas. And this is articulatory phonetics that tells us, in fact, that how the speech organs inside our mouth and, of course, inside our body, they work. They work together. Okay, and time and again I try to present before you certain diagrams elaborating all the speech sounds or speech organs which produce the speech sound. How do they collaborate? But at the end, what happens, we have to understand in today's session, that what actually happens while we are producing different kinds of consonants. Second, phonetics is the study of the sound of speech. This is what you must not forget. But the primary role is the articulatory phonetics role, which is behind the production of each and everything. And of course, the story ends where? At the point of auditory phonetics, when the audience or the listener is in fact filtering what kind of sounds he or she is receiving from the mouth of the speaker. And then articulation refers to the mechanics of making sounds for speech. The mechanics of making sounds for speech. Do you remember the sound making apparatus? So this is the entire apparatus and the parts of the apparatus, in fact. So mechanism is there. And I presented before you a slide so that you may understand what is the airstream mechanism inside us. And then there are usually several things happening at once when we make a sound for speech. But the relevant part here is where you put your lips and tongue. That's very important. You can recall my talk on this, on the importance of these two things when I said what we are left with. We are left with the lips and tongue. Sometimes, all right, somebody can see the tongue that is working inside us, but most of the time we cannot see. Yes, only lips we can see. For example, this time I am talking to you. Now, nobody can see my lips or my tongue. But even when I am in front of you, what happens that your attention is on my lips. But there is a complete world behind the production of a single speech sound. Places of articulation, since we are not talking at the moment. Place of articulation, no, I'm not talking, because I'll be talking about them later on in the coming slides. That what place is significant when we are producing one particular sound. This time I'm trying to make you understand that yes, there are some articulators, but there are certain active articulators and passive articulators. When we talk about lips and tongue, remember these are the active articulators. And most importantly, I must say that tongue is the most active. Although we find that, all right, lips, since we can only see the lips, but remember, my dear students, that is the tongue. In fact, it is all the time working inside us. So we are left with lips or tongue. But primarily, I'm not saying that these are the only articulators we are concerned with. No, we are, as a student of phonetics and phonology, we are concerned with each and every speech organ and its role. But for the time being, I'm trying to emphasize on the importance of lips and tongue. Why? Because tongue is active articulator, although we cannot see the movement of tongue all the time, because we are primarily concerned with the lips movement, isn't it? This time even you can listen to me and I think you can figure out what kind of sound I am speaking, because I have had discussion on this. For example, I told you something about the labiodental sound, a bilabial sound, a dental sound, for example. I started with bilabial sounds, for example, when I said p, b, m, and w. So you can understand now, whenever you hear the sound p, you can understand only the instructor is primarily touching his both lips. Okay? So we are left with lips because we can see the lips. Yes, exactly. But remember, it is the tongue that is the most active articulator. All right? As I told you that I'll be talking about the places of articulation in the coming slides. Now, in front of you is another diagram. You can understand what are the places of articulation. Can you see some arrows in red color? Some directions reflected through red color? And then recall what we did during the last session. For example, we talked about labiodental sounds. We talked about dental sounds. We talked about bilabial sounds. Now here in front of you, the places of articulation. See the first arrow in the red, the bottom of this diagram. What is the place? Can you mention it? Yes, try to say it. Yes, exactly. The voice box, the vocal folds, the vocal bands, larynx. And in front of that we can see Adam's apple. Okay? And then watch, the air stream is going upwards, and over there all the speech organs are working, collaborating in accordance with the requirement of the speech sound. As I told you, for example, during the 5th session, something about neurology I referred to. Yes, the brain cells, all the time giving direction. So you can recall that diagram, that what is the process, phonetry system. First, the direction from the brain cells, and then the same thing is sent where the phonetry system, core lung system is there, and then things are processed in the lungs, and the lungs, then these lungs push the air upward, and what happens then? And then the mechanism starts, the true mechanism for the production of any speech sound, not necessarily one speech sound, any speech sound. And what happens at the end? We are left with the lips. You can see there is alveolar ridge, and we can see two parts of alveolar ridge. One is the hard part, the other one is the soft part. Yes. And then we have got uvula. So you can see again, you can store this picture again in your mind. In your mind you can store it. And then afterwards, when asked, you can say, all right, this is the speech mechanism. This is what we talk about, the places of articulation. These are the places of articulation. Any sounds, for example, n sound, n, as in no, right? What happens? The velum, the soft palate starts working and does not allow the air to go to mouth tract. No, that route is stopped and blocked, but the air is allowed to go to nasal cavity and outside, and through the nostrils we are producing n sound, since it is a nasal sound. So each and every speech organ is playing its role, whatever the role is, in accordance with the production of one particular speech sound. As I told you in the previous slide, many things are happening inside us. Many things are. But we are left with the lips and the sound. But how the sound is produced, what are the speech organs working together, that is another story. Because you have to understand the concepts as a student of phonetics and phonology. That is the most important part of this program. Now let's understand the place of articulation. I hope that you have tried to store the previous slide of the diagram in your mind, when I'm reading out these lines for you. Now listen to me carefully. The location at which two speech organs approach or come together in producing a speech sound, as in the contact of the tongue and the teeth to form a dental sound. It is an example. The location. In fact, this statement tells us something about the location. The location. The place of articulation is primarily, what is it called? Location. And for example's sake, it is written over here, as in the contact of the tongue and the teeth to form a dental sound. What is dental sound? Th and the. Th and the. So there is a contact of the tongue and the teeth. What happens? The tip of the tongue is touching the back of the front teeth, and then it is producing th or the. This is what the first part of this statement says. The location at which two speech organs approach or come together in producing a speech sound. So that means when we talk about the place of articulation, that is primarily the location of that particular speech sound or sound, speech organs, one speech organ or maybe speech organs, as in the case of th and the sound, the tongue and the teeth. But what teeth? Not the lower teeth, but the upper teeth. So the tip of the tongue is touching. So that means this is the location we have to understand. This location, when you come across that your tip of the tongue is touching the inside of the front teeth, that means that is a dental sound these are. And that particular location is called place of articulation. So you must understand, when somebody says place of articulation, we are talking about the location at which two speech organs approach. Okay? It is also called point of articulation. That location which I'm talking about, whatever the location of the speech organ or speech organs, that is also called point of articulation. And then the active articulator usually moves in order to make the constriction. Constriction. You must remember this word, because we are going to have a detailed analysis of this word so far as the term is concerned. The active articulator. And which one is the active articulator? I said it is the tongue that is the most active articulator. That moves in order to make the constriction, right? To produce sound. That is the job of tongue. For example, I am giving you the example of tongue. The passive articulator usually just sits there and gets approached. Now you can understand what is the difference between active articulator and passive articulator. What is the job of passive articulator? Simply sitting, relaxing, because it's the job of the active articulator. Time and again I said that one of the wonderful blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is tongue. Watch, other speech sounds are there, all the time they are working, all the time they are contributing, but it's the tongue, in fact, the four parts, the tip, the front, the blade, the middle part, the center, and of course the back of the tongue. We are not conscious about the use of tongue. That's why it's the most significant part. Of course, each and every part is significant and important in human body. Every part is playing its role. But so far as the knowledge of phonetics and phonology, or the branch of linguistics, or the branches of linguistics, may I say, phonetics and phonology, both remember the role of tongue, because it is the active articulator. So far as the passive articulators are concerned, they have to sit and relax, and they allow the active articulator to approach them, maybe single speech organ or maybe many, right? But this time, in the case of th and the, tongue is approaching towards what? To the tip of the tongue is approaching through its tip to the inside of the front two teeth, or you can say all upper teeth, right? Is it clear? Now let's think about certain places of articulation. Certain places of articulation. There could be 9, but so far as the major ones are concerned, it is agreed upon that 8 places of articulation, and which are in front of you. And I hope you still remember the early slides of session number 1, that when I requested that please try to remember them, try to store in your mind that these are the, in fact I was talking about the places of articulation. At that time I didn't want to confuse because what happens when we are just picking up some course in the start, what happens if we come across many terms, we naturally get confused because it is sometimes difficult to remember each and every term, and especially when it is a new term, because it's not only the term, because there is some sort of concept which is behind that term, why that is used and why that is called. Now you can say, when I say bilabial, I'm sure by this time, after having attended 5 sessions, I am absolutely sure that you can identify when I say bilabial. All right, you understand, 2 lips are together. Okay, so bilabial, labiodental, interdental, alveolar, palatal, velar, uvular, glottal. I repeat, there are 8 places of articulation. Bilabial. Rather, I would like to suggest to repeat after me, please. Are you ready? Okay. Bilabial, labiodental, interdental, alveolar. You can also call it alveolar, palatal, velar, uvular, glottal. My dear ones, before I pick up all the sounds of the places of articulation separately, I think it's pertinent to talk about this diagram, which is very important. Right, so this diagram primarily presents before you a complete view of human mouth, that what happens, and you can understand through the arrows pointing to the places of articulation used in English language. I have specifically named English because I cannot talk about any other language. Of course, when we talk about phonetics, many a time I told you that it generally talks about the speech sounds, and definitely all human languages which are spoken, understood in the world. But specifically I have to rely on English language because this is our target. Not only your target, but my target, because I'm also a student like you. I want to learn. So time and again I just give a reference to English, right? So when we talk about those places, so you can see that is in fact a view of human mouth inside, that what other places you call them. I have just talked about them in the previous slide. Starting from your dental left side, you can see dental. What are the areas, or the area, of course, that falls under or fall under this heading, that is called dental. Then is the labiodental area, then bilabial, then alveolar, then post-alveolar. Of course, alveolar and post-alveolar, they're one and the same, but that I'm talking about the area. Palatal, velar, and glottal. So I hope I don't want to talk about theoretically only. That's why I'm presenting certain diagrams again and again to you people. Why? Because I want you to store each and everything in your mind. It's very important. The visuals are all the time to assist the words. That is my sole purpose, to present again and again some diagrams in a new shape. All right, now this time you can say it's very simple. It is a view of human mouth. It's quite simple, but it tells you what is the position, or what are the areas being called dental area, labiodental area, bilabial area, alveolar area, of course attached with this post alveolar area, palatal area, velar area, and glottal area. So when we are going to talk about in detail each and every consonant in the coming slide, so that you can have this understanding. All right, I have seen it. Okay, that I have seen it. Okay, I remember it. I remember it. So this is what I am presenting before you, and this is the reason behind each and every diagram which I just bring in front of you. All right. Now, dear students, remember, before I pick up each and every place of articulation in detail, one thing I want to share with you, and that is that I'm trying to make it a quite natural sort of virtual training or virtual learning. All right, since you're sitting in remote areas or wherever you are, it sometimes becomes difficult when you understand a technical subject like phonetics and phonology. And I told you time and again that I always feel that my students are sitting in front of me and I'm trying to give them a demonstration. That's why sometimes I have to get you engaged in some sort of activity. It's very important. I feel that this is what we can do, not only so far as this course is concerned, but the rest of the courses as well. This is my view. You may agree, you may disagree, but I'm trying to make it natural as much as it is possible for me. So let's talk about bilabial. Bilabial. Two lips together. Bilabial consonants occur when you block, constrict. Now, constriction. Can you recall that word? Yes. Bilabial consonants occur when you block or constrict airflow out of the mouth by bringing your lips together. What do you do? In these sounds, we primarily bring our two lips together and we try to block the air. In fact, we try to block the air. English contains the following three bilabial consonants. I also mentioned the fourth one, that is w, where you have to round your lips, but specifically I'm talking about these three consonants which are considered as bilabial. Why? Definitely in the coming slides or maybe coming sessions you should understand that why I'm just focusing on p, and m. Now, the first sound is p, as in purse and wrap. Purse. Now this time the sound occurs in the beginning of the word, but so far as a wrap is concerned, it is the ending sound. Now I want you to repeat after me these words and try to understand what's written in the beginning. It's written that bilabial consonants occur when you block or constrict airflow out of the mouth by bringing your lips together. Now watch. Say after me. Purse. Before we produce purse, both the lips are together. And then wrap. At the end, both the lips are together. Wrap. Then b, as in back, and cab. Say after me. Back, cab, and then again say after me. M, as in mad, and calm, 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 calm. So in purse and wrap, purse sound is there. And back and cab, B sound is there. In mad and calm, M sound is there. Can you understand? Now, what you can do is that you can bring some more words. You can start recording your voice and use P, B, M, and try to understand what's written on the top. That what happens, we bring our two lips together and we try to block the airflow. Okay? Now let's talk about labiodental. Labiodental consonants occur when you block or constrict airflow by curling your lower lip back and raising it to touch your upper row of teeth. Labiodental. Listen to me again. Labiodental consonants occur when you block or constrict airflow by curling your lower lip back and raising it to touch your upper row of teeth. Now the sounds we have two. English contains the following two labiodental sounds. Two. F and V. F and V. The simple, or in simple words, you can say upper teeth, lower lip. Upper teeth, lower lip. By curling your lower lip back and raising it to touch your upper row of teeth. F. As in two words, fro and cough. Fro and cough. Fro and cough. A V. Vine and have. Vine and have. Now you can bring some more words. You can write them, certain words having f or v sounds, and then you can practice. But the best part of practice is that you just have, for example, a list of 20 words and try to read them out. When you are reading them out, remember, record your voice. That is the best part of the practice. Labiodental. F, V. F, V. So what happens? It happens when the airflow is blocked, constricted. Where? By curling your lower lip back and raising it to touch your upper row of teeth. So this is what I said: upper teeth, lower lip. Upper teeth, lower lip. And the outcome is F, V. Father, family. V, village, very. So many other names are there. So you just try to pronounce them and then try to record your voice. This is what is the best practice, okay? Now let's talk about dental sounds. We have seen bilabial sounds. We have discussed the labiodental sounds. And now let's talk about dental sounds. May I read the statement for you? Dental consonants occur when you block or constrict airflow by placing your slimy tongue against your upper teeth. This is what I've been telling you time and again, that watch that active articulator, which is tongue, of course. That is touching what? The inside of the upper teeth, and we are left with two sounds which are called dental. So in English, we have got two dental sounds. The first one is fur, thick, bath, fur. Please don't call it th. Mostly it is produced as th, but it is fur. Say after me, fur, as in thick, bath, thick, bath. And now say the second sound, the, as in the, rather, the, rather. So you can write some more words. You're free to write as many words as you can, and you can produce these sounds. Remember, th is a very delicate sound, so you don't have to call it, since you know in your own language te and he, table, right? Te thala. Sometimes we use this kind of sounds in Urdu, but please try to understand that we don't have to compare the sounds of one language with the other, because the distinctive feature is there. So there is a natural way of producing the sound of that particular language we are talking about, and we are talking about the sounds of English at this time. That's why this is my humble request that you don't have. I have seen many students, when they are practicing the symbols and the signs together with the sounds of those symbols, they start writing in Urdu. I have seen them. In yes, exactly, this is my experience. So please, I am requesting you not to do that. That's why I am emphasizing a lot on practice. Put the key in front of you, put this slide in front of you, and produce the sound th, and then some sort of keyword like thick, like bath, and then the, and say the, and rather. So this is the best way to practice, instead of this that you're writing some symbols from your own language. So that is the wrong recipe. I never suggest this recipe, and I never prescribe this kind of approach towards learning English. Okay? My dear students, before I talk about the vowel sounds, I would like to request you that please try to focus on the diagrams which are also presented there. So it's very important, after having listened to me carefully and after understanding, please try to correlate with the diagram you can see now and of course on the previous slides. Alright, let's talk about vowel sounds. Behind your hard palate, you have the vellum or soft palate. Can you recall now alveolar, which has got hard palate and soft palate? So behind your hard palate, you have the vellum or soft palate. Unlike the bony hard palate in front of it, this consists of soft mucousy tissue. Yes, exactly, mucousy tissue. Yes, the flow of your discharge, you know, through the nostrils, mucousy tissue. You make vowel consonants when you raise the back of your tongue to the vellum to block or restrict airflow. How do you produce these vowel sounds? You make vowel consonants when you raise the back of your tongue to the vellum to block or restrict airflow. Now watch. You can see some of the English sounds, the vowel English sounds. Look at them. The first one is eng. Eng, as in going and uncle. Note that the n sound in this word is not made at the alveolar ridge, which is why it is distinct from n sound. It is ing. You can feel the back of your mouth. The soft palate is playing the role. Ing, bring. So air is restricted. Airflow is restricted. It is blocked. Where? Vellum. Ing, ing, ing. And then k, as in kite. And back. Kite, back. When I am producing, for example, ing, going, going, you can feel where air is blocked. What is the spot where air is blocked? And when you say k, you can feel where airflow is blocked. So this is what when we do, we produce the vowel sounds like ing, k. Okay? Well, students, before we start something about glottal sound, it is very important that we have to try that what sounds we have done. Since the time doesn't allow me to give you more and more words on the slides, But it is very important that you have to write down certain words, certain words, certain words which are in your active memory, and try to write down those words, because I always believe that every student and every learner has got many words in the memory box. So whenever I request you that you have to write down certain words, of course when you are listening, it is possible during your session, it is sometimes I feel that that becomes very hard to practice the way I expect the students to practice. But remember, after having this discussion and this session, what happens that you are free. So please don't get yourself free all the time. The most important thing is that you have to sit for the time being, and you have to do in a very easy way, so that you feel relaxed. At the same time, learning is enjoyable. Always remember, time and again I tell my students that please make your learning enjoyable. If learning is not enjoyable, I think that things become difficult. For example, I want to tell you that since we are engaged in adult learning, you are adults and we are engaged in adults learning. All the instructors are engaged in adults learning. So what happens, in fact, that is the concept primarily based on andragogy, how to teach the adult ones. What is adult learning? And the basic concept when we talk about andragogy, when we talk about adult learning, that is based on what? And that philosophy is the need, the need of the adult learner. Whether she or he thinks that, all right, I have the need to learn this. So you have the need. Why? Because you have got yourself enrolled in the university. So the first part is done. But remember, at the same time, motivation plays a wonderful role. Out of the 6 certain stages or 6 components of adult learning, so far as Malcolm Knowles' philosophy is concerned, the final thing is motivation. I am here talking to you virtually. I'm trying to motivate you that you are a man or a woman of wonderful talent. So you've got the talent, and you have to utilize the talents nature has bestowed upon you. So it's very important, this is my humble request, that before we start talking about glottal sound, you have to refer back to the slide which contains number 1, the bilabial sounds. What are the bilabial sounds? How they are produced. So some of the words are there. Of course, the mechanism is also elaborated there, but briefly. Then talk about labiodental sound. What are those? What are those? What are those? And then talk about dental sounds. Write down certain words and start practicing them. Without practicing, it is not possible that you can have grasp on them. Right? 2, 3 words, okay, you just listen to me, you forget it is possible. No. And then talk about vowel sound, something like that. Whatever the types you come across. Of course, today's session and the coming session, we'll be talking more and more about these sounds, and of course how they are produced, what is the point of, or what is the place of articulation. And of course we'll be giving detailed analysis again when we'll be just picking up the one of the most important bases for the classification of consonants, and that is the method of articulation. Okay, so it's wonderful. Now let's talk about glottal. The glottis is actually 2 vocal folds, vocal cords. Do you remember? Time and again, time and again, time and again, I used vocal folds, vocal cords, right? Flaps, muscles. It acts as a sort of bottle cap to your windpipe. It is a bottle cap to your windpipe. For example, inhale and then hold your breath for a few seconds while keeping your mouth open. Inhale and then hold your breath for a few seconds while keeping your mouth open. What you are actually doing is to keep the air from expelling out of your lungs by closing your glottis. Keep your mouth open. Keep your mouth open. Inhale and then do not allow the airflow or the air go anywhere. So what happens in fact? The glottis is stopping it. Okay? So lungs cannot push more because the airflow or the airstream is blocked where? At the glottis. So glottal consonants aren't actually consonants. They just play consonant roles in the language. We have only one glottal sound, that is h. That is h. Yes, exactly. So, but it is written the glottal consonants aren't actually consonants. They just play consonant roles in the language. Is it clear? Before I change the slide, this slide, I was talking the same thing in the previous slide when I was elaborating, that what happens in fact, there is only one glottal sound. Now, in English, the following things happen at the glottis. The sound is h, as in high and height. High. It is not high. High. It is not height. It is height. So I want you now, say these words and notice how you are not actually constricting or blocking airflow for this h sound. You are just exhaling a little bit harder than you would for a normal vowel sound in transition to the following vowel sound, whatever the vowel sound is. H. For example, there is a h sound. If I say father, right? That is, something is happening, because always remember all the vowel sounds from where they are produced, exactly at the same place where we have got glottal sound, h, high, high. So there is not actual constriction or blocking of airflow, right? In the words high and height. So that is something, a slight difference when we just produce some sort of vowel and when we produce a glottal sound, that is h sound. Okay? Well, before we close this session, I think it's very important to understand what we have done today. Remember, sometimes it is possible that you feel all right in this session why the other sounds have not been discussed. Remember, the time does not allow us to complete each and every aspect. That's why you can have certain units. This session or the other sessions are primarily units. So in each unit we can do something and we cannot do some other thing. But in the next unit, what happens that that particular thing or the items are picked up. So what we've done today, in fact, we try to understand what? We try to understand what is in fact articulate phonetics, because we try to understand what is the role of speech organs. And I try to present before you a couple of diagrams elaborating all right the position of speech sounds, speech organs, and then I try to present before you certain names, certain terms like bilabial, labiodental, dental, velar, glottal. But it is possible that that you have to pick up these items again in the next sessions, right? So never think that we have done only this and not those other items. Remember, so each unit has been given some sort of areas which we have to talk and which we try to understand, and I do try that whatever is the topic or the topics of one unit or one session, we have to focus ourselves. We have to focus ourselves on those particular areas without thinking that this much of work we have to do, because I am more concerned with the quality of the work so far as my students are concerned, right? It's not the matter of quantity, right? That we talk about many things and what happens at the end, that we forget most of the things and we remember one or two things. So that's why time and again I request you to please focus what I say. You have to focus on the activity. This session is recorded. You can listen this session anytime. So that anytime means that you're free to have that kind of activity which I'm proposing you during the session, because you're free, you've got time, you've got space, and you can get yourself engaged in many activities which I suggest, and not only which I suggest, but there are many activities you feel convenient. All right, I can attach this activity, which is my own activity, to understand bilabial sound, the dental sound, the alveolar sounds, plateau-alveolar sound, velar sound, the glottal sound, whatever the sounds are. Or we shall be talking about vowel sound, or any other item, any other specific topic. Remember, primarily you are a scientist, a young scientist, since you're talking about one of the sciences, and that is phonetics. So that's why this is my humble request, that whenever you switch off your computer, you have to get yourself engaged. Not only so far as the self-assessment is concerned, but throughout the session, whatever we do, you have to listen again and again for the elaboration, for the understanding of certain concepts which are behind phonetics and of course phonology. As for example, so far as this self-assessment component is concerned, based on the today's session, and that is session number 6, that is right in detail on the places of articulation and sound elaboration. Now, whatever the sound you have read about today, you have to elaborate them, but do not forget that you must focus on the places of articulation. The diagrams which you have seen today, they are self-explanatory, and I'm sure these diagrams will help you a lot, because you have to, by this time, I think every one of you is an expert. I at least feel that you people are now expert. I'm not saying that you have become master in drawing, but at least your drawing is also improved, because you have to draw time and again, time and again. Sometimes what happens, there is boredom, and it's very much possible that sometimes you get tired, but please don't get tired. I always suggest that there is some sort of motivation inside you, and that aspect of your personality is paying, really is paying you now, and I'm sure it will pay you in the coming days. So this is what we had to talk about in this session. Thank you very much from my side. Goodbye and good luck. Stay blessed.